Hello and welcome, my name is Robin Henkys. I'm the game director of Albion Online, and today I would like to introduce you to a new format that we've come up with, which is the development recaps. These will be sort of 5 to 10 minutes, maybe the first one's a bit longer, videos, mostly unedited, of me talking about what's been going on in development, giving you some insights into decisions that we've made that we may not have in news posts. Basically, yeah, just give you a look behind the scenes. So right now, the team is extremely busy preparing the release version of Albion. We've basically summed up all your feedback, we've collected data, and as you know, as a result of that, we have postponed the release date, pushed it back so that we can still focus on finishing a couple of key points that we thought we definitely would like to get done before we release the game. To confirm what we're working on, we've actually run a survey, and while many of you think that we should already release the game, and we're very flattered about that, you've also confirmed that we are looking into the right direction. A lot of you, well, not complained, but a lot of you mentioned that you find the PvE too unrewarding, that one of the key experiences of Albion, of going into dungeons, just often doesn't feel worth it, or just isn't rewarding enough. So we've come together as a team and thought about this and come up with a lot of ideas of how to improve this, and I've actually started working on it right now, and I'd like to talk to you about the key changes that we're making. So the first thing is we're focusing on the open world. A good chunk of the team is busy improving the experience of open world PvE in Albion, thinking about how to make this better. And actually, open world PvE is something very special in Albion. It's unlike in many other MMOs. In Albion, you actually run risks when you go into the open world. One risk that's very basic is that you may not find what you're looking for. Another player may have beaten you to it, right? The tree that you were looking for may have been chopped down, or the creature may have been slain and it's just not there. But there is a bigger risk to open world PvE, and that is other players. Other players may choose to attack you, may choose to kill you, may choose to take your gear. And this is something we had to take into account when thinking about an open world design. And our key design philosophy there is risk versus reward, right? If the risk becomes higher, the reward has to become higher. So while thinking about this again and bringing this back to into our minds, we looked at the gateway dungeons again, and we figured they actually don't really work the way we intended to with the open world. We wanted to have these as short, fun experiences that players coming from MMOs that have a very focused dungeon experiences would find familiar and would have fun with and have access to. But it turns out they're really hard, they're really inaccessible, and they're hard to find. And when you've gone through all that trouble of finding them, it ends up that the actual cool thing, the actual highlight, the boss, doesn't happen in the open world. And that feels very un-Albion-esque. So after a tough round of decision making, we decided to actually remove these and move their contents back into the open world. So you'll find the mini bosses that you would normally find in a gateway dungeon, you'll now find in the open world. The loot drops, the rewards that were in gateways are moved back into the open world, back where you have all the risks and the rewards as they should be. That is a major decision, but we felt it was necessary. But we also felt that it didn't go far enough. We think that we could do more to make the open world more awesome. So the next thing that we did was we thought, well, you have these fixed camps where you're going to find creatures, but you don't have that many places where you'll be surprised. So we are introducing a concept called random camps. They're basically smaller camps, maybe just a few heretics or keepers hanging around a campfire in the forest, and you'll encounter those as you're exploring the world, as you're harvesting resources. You'll occasionally come across one of these camps. And for the most part, they're just adding a bit of flavor. They're adding some silver, some fame that you can gain by attacking those creatures. But what makes it special is that we've also introduced the concept of rarity. So there's several layers of rarity where you may find creatures in rare camps that are in random camps that are more rare than others. For example, like a Morgana Relic Keeper, who, if you find him and take him out, he will drop an artifact, and you will gain you can make an artifact weapon from that. Or you find the Morgana Treasurer, who carries a large stack of silver, and if you take him out, you find more silver than you can find on any other creature on that sort of difficulty level in the open world. These sort of rare encounters should spice up the experience of going through the open world, exploring on your own or with a couple of friends, and are what we feel were a missing piece from the open world PvE in Albion. The other by the way, while we're on the topic of rare spawns, we're also introducing that same concept to other locations. You'll have rare spawns in dungeons and rare spawns in what we're calling home bases. These are basically large bases that each faction will get in the world, where you can expect to encounter a massive amount of mobs, rare mobs also. And you can expect to encounter the world bosses. So, we're bringing back the Earth Mother, obviously the demon boss, and so on. But we're rethinking how they work. We're thinking about how do they work in the open world as a timed encounter, because obviously, if once they've been taken out, they will be gone from the world for a while. And the question is, how will people know when they will return, and how will people react when they know that they will return? So we're thinking about making some of these be announced spawns in the world that will then draw attention to a lot of players who will compete over them. And we're not stopping there either. We're even introducing a couple of more new world bosses. Most key among those right now are the Guardians. These are basically major versions of the spirits, the forest spirit, for example, like a massive animated tree, or the ore elemental, a giant version of a metal come to life. And these will gain a bunch of very special skills, which will make it impossible to beat them with just one player. So if you do come across one of these in the open world, you can tell your friends, get as many of them as possible, take out this world boss, and then harvest him for resources, which should hopefully sustain your guild for quite a while. And obviously, if other players encounter you fighting it, they can engage with you and so on. So basically, really create a dynamic open world through the introduction of a lot of cool bosses. Obviously, as I said, these open world encounters come with a lot of risks. And to deal with those risks, well, we're not dealing with those risks. You have to take those risks into the open world. But to offset that, we're working on the rewards as well. So the key point there is we think we need to take another hard look at rebalancing a lot of the loot. As I said, we're moving all of the rewards from the gateways into the open world, so we have to look at loot lists again. But in the end, we have to make sure that the risks that you're taking are worth the loot that's dropping. To do this, we're to improve upon the rewards that you're getting, we're actually exploring more option of introducing new loot or new ways to use loot. So for example, we'll make possible to enchant weapons with artifact fragments. So if you find artifact fragments and you don't want an artifact, you can use these fragments to improve the enchantment level of your items. This will make sure that every player who already has existing gear can improve this existing gear through the use of their drops, and that should be really cool. We've also introduced essences, as you know, to make sure that PvE plays a key role in the open world, in the economy, and these will move from the gateways into the open world like everything else. In addition, we're exploring more opportunities for rare drops. So we think that, for example, the direwolf worked really well as a reward. It's something that you can find in the open world. You can then take to your farm and basically process to turn it into a really valuable good that was sought after by a lot of players. And we think we can take that concept and introduce a bunch of new rare mounts, like a super transport mammoth or a command swamp dragon mount, or we're still in a thought process of what mounts exactly we want to introduce, but we definitely think there's something there that we can use to make more cool rare drops. In addition, we're also revisiting the farming to look at the introduction of alchemy ingredients. So basically we think we can create a bunch of cool drops that are then used in farming or in cooking and in alchemy to create particularly powerful potions, to create more valuable food with a higher nutrition value or a higher boosts, these sort of things. So as I said, we're pushing the open world in terms of what you can encounter, and on the other side in terms of what you can receive. Now, all these changes raise the question of how to deal with the mission system. The mission system was originally designed for players to guide them a little bit, but it relied on a couple of factors, like, for example, that mobs would be there if you needed them to complete a mission. And this becomes a lot more tricky if we follow through with our plans of making open world PvE be more about finding creatures as well as gaining high rewards from them. If we lower the spawn rate so that mobs are not constantly always respawning in the spot where they were, it becomes really hard to complete these missions. So we thought for a very long time about how to deal with this, because we think that while it's extremely cool to have an open world that is so risky and so rewarding as Albion's, is we still need to have reliable, fun experiences in the game. The islands are a feature that I can just log into. I can deal with my farm, and I can gain something from it. And it was a fun and rewarding loop, and I didn't have to necessarily risk everything for it, because that's not something that I want to do on an everyday basis. That's obviously a key thing that you have to do in Albion to get ahead, and to be a good Albion player, you should always need to take risks. But not every player wants to take super high risks every day. So we thought about how we can combine that with the mission system, what we want to, or how we can rework the mission system to achieve this. And what we want to do is to create really, fun, short encounters, basically what the gateways were intended to do, for players who just want to have a short login session, who don't want to risk everything in that one moment, to just be available from the towns. And these will be far less rewarding than the open world. You don't stand to gain the rare drops from the open world, and you will not gain as large treasures of silver or as high amounts of fame, but there will be something fun and reliable to do if you just have a short session time. This will be basically, if you think about it, this will be comparable to other mission systems in other sandbox games. We've already started working on that, and what we've made so far looks really, really promising in terms of the fun that it's delivering. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing that in action. The final thing that we're doing to make all of this work is we're looking at the Destiny board again. The Destiny board is obviously the key part where Albion comes together, where your goals lie. And on the one side, one thing that we're doing is we're introducing a PvE track to this Destiny board. The PvE track has the goal of actually achieving what we want to do in terms of risk and reward in the open world. The PvE track will basically be a line of unlocks that you gain by killing creatures, and that line will contain bonuses to fighting creatures. So basically, you get a damage bonus or a defensive bonus, and this will allow you to take on stronger creatures, even without upgrading your gear necessarily. Now, we'll still make sure that you need pretty good gear to defeat some of the stronger creatures. But at the same time, we felt we were quite out of whack right now with some of the stronger creatures, in theory, requiring T8.3 gear to be taken down. That is not something that we can ask you to do on a daily basis in the open world, because the rewards for these creatures would have to be insanely high to do this. So we're basically introducing this Destiny board track to make sure that the open world PvE can work. And then we're taking a look at the learning points again. This doesn't necessarily immediately have something to do with the PvE, but it's something that a lot of you mentioned also, and that we're very serious about and taking very serious, is that you want your playtime to matter, and the learning points were threatening that experience. So we've taken a long look at the balancing of the learning point system, and the decision is that we're first off, we're bringing back the required threshold for learning points. So you cannot spend learning points anymore if you haven't made at least a minimum of progress, and we're still debating what that minimum is. It will likely be a variable amount depending on the tier of the achievement that you're trying to unlock. But for the most part, we're pushing that threshold to a point where your active play actually becomes a lot more important. Basically, we're giving you less learning points per day, which makes it much more important to actually actively play. And we think that will actually deal with a lot of your concerns, because that will make, multi-character scenarios where you have multiple characters, multiple premium accounts, cap out quite quickly, because you will have to, you will actually have to actively play to unlock all those achievements. Apart from that, we're looking into further improvements with the Destiny boards, more sub-steps, so that you actually have, this goes into rewards again, more of a chance of unlocking something on the Destiny board more frequently. But that is probably a topic for the future, because right now we're still very busy making all the changes that I mentioned regarding the open world PvE and the rewards. So I hope I was able to give you an insight into what's been going on in Albion, how we're using the time, and I'm looking forward to the next time we're doing this. Goodbye.